strikeout. You don't see it often, but every once in a while, Walters swung and got nailed.
Nothing more embarrassing than getting struck out on a pitch so filthy it hits you. If you couldn't hear that, that was a play-by-play call. From spring training, where someone named Walters, or Walters with an O, got struck out on a curveball on the inside, and it hit him, looks like in the leg, and he's down, and he looks like he's in pain. I hope he's okay, because I don't want to make fun of him too bad. But I also think a huge part of his ego is what's hurting. This is interesting to see. Your daily sports podcast, news, narratives, takes, and gambling. As I fix my monitor, you can watch on YouTube or on Spotify if you turn your phone sideways. That's right. If you listen on Spotify, you can watch it too. There's no need to watch on YouTube. Actually, this is America. You can do whatever you'd like. I am not going to be your keeper. Okay, let's get this back on my face. All right. The MLS debut. We're going to get into that in a little bit. Also, the NFL Combine is happening this week, the Combine. So the NFL Combine, which is happening this week, is called the Combine because of a cool reason I'll tell you later if I remember. Basketball last night and over the weekend, Jason Tatum kicked out of a game after the big Sixers game. He got ejected against the Knicks. Yeah. And the Knicks beat the Celtics, and the Heat beat the Sixers, and my guess is they're both a wee bit hungover. Yeah. The Nuggets beat the Clippers in overtime. I think this might be a weird... Okay, so if you're not familiar with what's going on in the NBA, there's a huge debate over the MVP. So Nikola Jokic has won 2 years in a row. I think that Joel Embiid was the MVP last year. However, Joel Embiid is not healthy, and he has like highs and lows. His highs are the highest highs in the NBA at this point in time. I mean, James Harden and Steph Curry are a little bit, they're getting a little old. They can't do it all the time anymore. And Giannis is kind of the same way. He's getting a little old. But for Nikola Jokic and Joel Embiid, they're big guys. They're distributors. Nikola Jokic is a big distributor. When Joel Embiid is on, he's unstoppable. But, it's the Sixers are the Sixers. So the debate is whether or not Jokic should win the MVP, and there are two debates. Debate number one is he hasn't won anything in the playoffs, so he's back-to-back MVPs. They've been a top 3 seed pretty much the entire time. Jokic has, I think this is true, he's never played with a co-All-Star. So, think about that. There's never been another All-Star on his team. If you don't know him, you don't follow basketball, it's because he's also not a star. He's in Denver. He's not in one of these big markets. Even when you think like Golden State or Phoenix, those are much bigger markets than Denver. Denver's like this island. Denver and Salt Lake City are these island in the middle of the mountains. So he's this big dude. I think he was a second-round draft pick, and he's just really swift. The other thing is he doesn't pass the eye test. He just looks like a big, lumbering Middle Eastern dude. He looks kind of like a fat white guy. He's not ripped or anything, but he's so good. So it's this debate of do you watch basketball, or is it or do you know ball? It's analytics people versus non-analytics people. It's a whole thing, and I don't know. I think he's the MVP. The only other arguments are Joel Embiid and Giannis Antetokounmpo. I guess we'll see what happens down the stretch. Joel probably needed to beat Boston. So that's what's happening in the NBA. The MVP debate is kind of interesting. But as you kind of look, the Nuggets win in overtime last night in the Western Conference. They are, the number 1 seed right now. They're 5.5 games up on the Grizzlies. Are they the number 1 team in basketball? 30-12? Yeah, by a lot. Kind of by a lot. Wait. That's conference. 43-17 are the Bucks. Where are the Grizz? Yeah, 43-19. So they are not quite the number 1 team in basketball, but they're pretty close. And for me, I guess the other part of the debate is because he hasn't won anything in the postseason, but it's a regular season award, so they're going to change the criteria. I don't know. People that have watched basketball a long time just don't think that this guy can be the MVP, which is obviously stupid. Okay, NFL news. Couple of things happening in the ownership world. The first thing is that Bezos has been sniffing around the Commanders, as we reported, but it's also being reported by somebody that Bro Bible ripped off that he's sniffing around the Seahawks. That, to me, I didn't know that, but it's super obvious. I mean, Amazon is, I think, still headquartered in like the Tacoma, Seattle area. I don't know where, Puget Sound, I don't know. So it may be obvious. I don't know that the owners want him in the league. We've got a report from the Washington Post. Daniel Snyder is demanding the NFL and owners the owners indemnify him against future legal liability if he sells the Commanders, or he will sue, sources say, angering some owners and renewing talk of removing Snyder. So he's saying that if I sell, you need to promise not to sue me. And they're like, fuck off, bro. And now they're like, what if we just kick you out and make you sell? So, I mean, he just doesn't get it. He just doesn't get it. Geno Smith, remember him? He was drafted by the Jets, and then he had a charity event, and one of his teammates didn't show up, or he didn't show up to one of his teammates' charity event, and then that teammate punched him in the face and broke his jaw. He went to the Giants afterwards, and then I don't know what happened to him after the Giants, but then he wound up on the Seahawks, where he became a Pro Bowler and was one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, kind of, this year, playing out of his mind. Yeah, so the Jets are floating the idea of bringing him back. This is all just negotiations to lower the price for Derek Carr, lower the price for Aaron Rodgers. The Washington Commanders, big news yesterday, Carson Wentz released. See ya, Carson. He signed a $128 million deal with Philadelphia, and he saw $105 million of that. It's not bad, man. That is not bad. Good for you, Carson. I mean, he's just such a good example of, I think the Pardon My Take guys said that the best way to figure out if the best way to prevent a Carson Wentz-like situation would be to have a bachelor party test. If they had just gone on a bachelor party with Carson Wentz, nobody would have drafted him. Nobody would have drafted him. The NFL is reportedly looking to make roughing the passer reviewable by instant replay. I'll be honest. I think that all personal fouls should be reviewable and callable by replay. I think this is a really simple way to do it. Like, here's a personal foul. It just needs to be confirmed. That's it. Call on field was confirmed, and it should be. You don't even really need to like do a bunch of reviews. It just be like throw the flag, and then while they're discussing the yardage, have like, yep, okay, he face masked him. Or if there's a missed face mask, like, nope, missed face mask, throw it. Because Jalen Hurts was face masked pretty bad on the scoop and score that led to the touchdown. I think that's what I heard. I don't really know. But for me, this is fine. I don't think the review process should be crazy, but I do think that like the roughing the passer thing has been out of control, and I think my opinion is that personal fouls should be reviewable, or not reviewable, but confirmable. They should be confirmed and just picked up. You shouldn't be able to, like, cause it's such a big deal. Because it also is an automatic first down, which, of course, you think 15 yards, like, but it's not an automatic first down until it is, at which point you're like, shit. So that's what's going on in the National Football League. The NFL Combine is this week. The Combine. Do you know why they call it the Combine? Is it some sort of farming? No. All that happened was, this is true. All that happened was that there used to be a bunch of separate little meetings across the country where doctors would poke and prod NFL prospects, and then they combined them in Indianapolis because it was in the middle, and then they call it the Combine. And then now there are drills. So eventually it used to just be literally just medicals, and then they did interviews because everyone was there to do medicals, and then after medicals they're like, well, why don't you run some drills? And then now it's like a thing. Medicals are the only thing that matters. The only other thing that matters is people can do crazy test scores, and it creates a lot of hype. So it gives GMs the opportunity to look really cool if they get a guy that ran like a 4.3 later in the draft. But for the most part, like with GPS data and just the way we have like video editing software, we can understand how fast someone is and how they look and what their strength is. Like, none of this shit matters. The only interesting part that kind of matters, the interview process, the weigh-ins, the press conference, and the drills combined. That gives teams the idea of how the athletes will work under pressure. And so that starts this week. I am on the Acme Packing Company, the Green Bay Packers SB Nation blog. SB Nation, of course, lost a bunch of bloggers and things. They had to make cuts because nobody reads anymore. So I'm on their site. Shouts to them. It's just an SB Nation site. So the head coach stuff starts today, bright and early. They'll do interviews, GM press conferences and stuff. And then there's linebackers and defensive linemen interviews. More head coach, general manager press conferences on Wednesday, defensive backs and specialist interviews, and the drills start Thursday in prime time, which is something that's kind of interesting. A lot of guys may or may not run. And I mean, I'm of the opinion that you shouldn't do this shit. If you're a prospect that's projecting as a for sure first rounder, you should absolutely not do this shit unless they like pay you $1 million. In my opinion, like why? It's a TV. The NFL wants to turn this into a TV show, so you're like, if I'm gonna act in a TV show, fuck you. Pay me my money. Absolutely not. Like, oh, you might break the record. I don't give a shit. You check the tape. Bryce Young will not be throwing. He is weighing in, and reportedly, there were rumors he would weigh in and measure at 5'9". But it looks like he's going to be 5'10 and a half, which I don't understand. The Bryce Young is the weirdest goddamn thing ever. We're going to talk about him when the draft gets closer. He looks taller on TV than people say that he is. Like when I remember watching Kyler Murray, it's like that guy is small. When I watch Bryce Young, it's like that guy's small, but it's not crazy. Like there's another small guy in the draft, the BYU kid, Jaron Hall. He's small. When I look at Bryce Young, I'm like, he doesn't look as short as these guys. I don't get it. But he apparently is going to measure 5 feet, 10 and a half inches tall. So we're going to have to talk about Bryce Young's height. The other weird thing is that he's so small, everyone says. He's so slight. 190 pounds maybe would be like by far the smallest height-weight combo quarterback of all time. His hands have to be small, I'm imagining. I don't know. The MLS started yesterday or whenever it did over the weekend, and there was a lot of people in attendance. 60,000 at Atlanta, 60,000 at Charlotte. Look, I have a TikTok of what it looked like from someone who was there. And people jumping up and down. It looks great. MLS people are the most annoying people on the internet. They're the most annoying parts of sports, of the sports internet. They really are. And the reason why is because they just want it to be so good, and I get that, and you have to show passion and all that, but it is not going to be like real soccer, international soccer. The season started in August, and now like it's the off season. It's minor. I don't watch minor league baseball either. You know, like I don't know what you want me to say, man. I don't watch minor league. LIV Golf over the weekend debuted, premiered or whatever, their season kicked off. The ratings were worse than they're on the CW. Remember they came out like, well, someone will buy the rights, and everyone was like, no. They're on the CW. Like with Smallville was CW, right? I think. I don't know, but I do know that America's Funniest Pets, which is also on the CW, got a higher rating than LIV Golf. So the other thing is that I believe that these LIV golfers are going to have to wear. So the way the LIV Golf works, they do tournaments, but they also do team tournaments where everybody's on the same team and they have like their polos like in high school. I believe they're going to have to wear their team uniforms in PGA major championships, because like remember the big debate was, will they get to play in like the Masters and the British Open and the Open Championship, and LIV and the PGA got on board. All 4 majors are going to be open to LIV golfers, but I think LIV is going to make them wear their uniforms. Oh, that's too funny. I can't get over that. Controversial Wednesday tomorrow. We got to check out Spitgate and what's going on in the NHL, get people's reaction to that, as well as some NIL sanctions and college hoops. Let's hear Snoop Dogg commentating hockey for the Los Angeles Kings.
That's a penalty right there. Yeah. Hands up.
Oh, watch out. Oh, he stole on him. He fired on Cuz. Hold on now. Oh, get it cracking then. Let's go. Snoop Dogg in the house. Let me see something.